Hello and welcome everyone to the sixth episode of Bright Garden Voices. I am Arnold Alaverdian and I am one of the co-founders of this project. Bright Garden Voices is a grassroots initiative which provides a platform for constructive dialogue between Armenians and Azerbaijanis. We host online meetings where guests from both sides share their experiences and ideas relating to the Azerbaijani-Armenian conflict or any other matter relating to the two nations. Our meetings also include live interaction with our audience, and the meetings are recorded and made available on YouTube and on podcast services. Bright Garden Voices is not affiliated with nor funded by any organization or government, and it does not purport to represent any nation, state, or group. We have two changes for today's episode. This is the first meeting where we are joined by Rauf Mamadov, our new co-organizer and host, who has taken over Aidan's role in the co-leadership of this project. This is also the first meeting where we have a member from our team replace one of the organizers as a host. For this meeting, it is my pleasure to welcome Andrea Mansourian, who will be replacing me as the Armenian moderator for this meeting. Let us now go to Diego to introduce himself.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining our sixth meeting of Bright Garden Voices. My name is Diego Arduan. I am with Arnold, one of the co-founders of this project and co-organizers. I am a geography student in Buenos Aires. I'm from Argentina. I'm neither Armenian nor Azerbaijani. And I have focused a lot of my studies on Armenian issues, and I have worked in peace building processes between Armenians and Turkish communities. So this is what brought me closer to this project. And today, as Arnold mentioned, I'm joined by two new co-hosts. So I'll like them to introduce themselves, please. Rauf.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rauf. I'm Azerbaijani. I'm the latest addition to Bright Garden team. Today, my role is just moderating today's program. I just want to mention that throughout the program, all views expressed here are my personal views, and they're ought not to be attributed to any ethnic group or entity. Yeah, that's all about me. Andrea?
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea. I'm Armenian and I live in the United States. I'm currently a graduate student studying history, and my passion for history stems for my appreciation of like our world's complexity and the interconnectedness at the same time with different people and cultures and histories. But the Armenian-Azerbaijani conflict is an area I have deep interest in. And the more I learned, I soon recognized the need for constructive dialogue within our communities. And now being in the post-war period, which is still a very sensitive and uneasy time for many of us, I believe that need for dialogue is even more important now. And also all of my anything I could say is just my own personal opinion, and I don't represent like a single group or nation. And that's it. And back to you, Diego.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Andrea and Rauf. So today's meeting is called Building Bridges. And so since the beginning of the last Nagorno-Karabakh war, some people felt an urge to connect with the other side. Despite emotions running high on both sides, these individuals remain true to their efforts in contributing to a set of shared goals, the most important being listening to the stories and perspectives of the other side, in many cases for the first time, and trying to understand and empathize with them. Bright Garden Voices was born out of this impulse as well. For this meeting, we have with us some individuals who have been committed to building bridges between the two nations through these hard times. So now we'll go to Andrea for today's agenda.
Thank you. So we're going to move on to today's agenda. Diego already introduced our project, and us moderators, we already introduced ourselves. Next, we're going to have a discussion with our guests. And after our discussion, we'll open the virtual floor for the audience to ask us questions. The audience can either forward their questions to the moderators. You can also write them in the chat, or you can directly ask them, and you can have your cameras turned on and microphones turned on and just ask the questions. We will end the meeting with a few closing remarks as well. And lastly, the meeting will be recorded, which we all know right now is being recorded, and then made available online to watch later. If you don't want your real name on record, you could use just your first name or a different name. And yeah, that's it. So now we're going to go to Rolf for our house rules.
Thank you, Andrea. As you can see on the screen, we have some basic house rules for all our meetings that I will ask you all to respect and adhere to. In short, we do not tolerate any insult, any slurs or disrespectful language, no provocative or aggressive questions, no generalizations about any ethnicity, denialism of trauma or events. Our goal is to call for empathy and not for accuse. Every participant here is only responsible for what they say and is not here to represent their government or nation. Remember, we are not here to agree with each other, and it's more than okay to disagree, actually, and we are simply here to listen to each other. Having said that, I hope everything is clear. I will go ahead and start introducing our speakers. Khoren is our first guest. Khoren is a Silicon Valley technologist. He is of Armenian descent. He's an active member of the Armenian community. Then we have Rosa. Rosa is also originally from Armenia. She's Armenian. She's from Yerevan. She's currently residing in Bosnia. She's a gynecologist, and she's married and is the mother of 2 children. Andrea.
Thank you. Our next two guests are first Lamiya. Lamiya was born in Baku. She is Azerbaijani. Her family members have been heavily involved both in the first and the recent Nagorno-Karabakh war. She is currently a student studying humanities in Kyrgyzstan. Aisel, our next guest, she is an illustrator. She's an illustration major. She is Azerbaijani born in Lithuania and currently lives in the UK. After the war, Aisel became more interested in the conflict and finding some people from the other side to have dialogue with. She has made Armenian friends through a Twitter chat group. Thank you both for joining us. And now let's go to Rolf for the first question.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and start with Khoren, if you're ready. You've started a Twitter profile called Armenian Azerbaijani Conflict Transformation, where you try to facilitate dialogue, denouncing violence and hate speech between Azerbaijanis and Armenians. Could you please elaborate about your experience with starting such an initiative, and what has the experience been with the engagements?
Well, I think I'll start off by saying that it's been a very exhausting experience. The conversations, a lot of these conversations, people have been impacted by the violence, and for some, it's been a repeat of generational violence and ongoing violence. For me personally, I had a hard time accepting. So as part of the Armenian diaspora living in the Silicon Valley, I interact with people from all over the world, and this includes Turkish people, Azeri people, Persian people, from Indian people, Pakistani people. I work with them all, almost on a daily or weekly basis. And I had a hard time understanding how with the new conflict kind of growing in 2020, how could somebody personally hate me without knowing me as an individual? The Twitter account, I really didn't have a plan going into it. I kind of wanted to explore anonymously, what really was going on, what were these conversations, and I wanted to kind of observe it from as neutral of a place as I could. I'd also been aware of the science around conflict transformation. I'm not a professional in the area, but I know that even on an individual basis, when people don't like each other or when they don't get along, sometimes it's from a historical, it can be from a historical event. It also can be a difference, an incompatibility in perspectives, or sometimes even a misunderstanding. And I want to clarify, I don't mean a misunderstanding in that the two people don't feel what they feel or they haven't had a real experience, but maybe their interpretation of what that experience means or how they should move forward and interact with each other. So I think over time, this whole project evolved for me, not having such a clear plan, and then on the fly kind of learning about other ethnic conflicts. The Azerbaijani-Armenian conflict is not the only one. It's not even probably the worst one that the world has seen, but nonetheless, it's very real, and people are being hurt by it. When I came in and started observing the different conversations, I tried really hard to again keep kind of a neutral perspective. It's not possible, but it was a strong attempt to read these conversations, but it did help. I started to see patterns. There are clearly people who, some individuals, they're actually very rare, that come in and they want to incite some kind of anger, and they maybe have no other clear motivation other than to insult somebody or make someone upset. But the majority of people, especially diasporans, both Azerbaijani and Armenian, many of them, or some of them, were just trying to have a conversation to understand each other, but the conversation was not going well because, and it was, if you read it as a block, it's almost like it's two separate conversations. And I think this is one of the problems with social media is two people are talking, but they're not talking. They're saying things and they're responding to each other, but they're not necessarily responding to what was said. And I think some of it can be language barriers, some of it can be grammar, and other artificial aspects. But I started to try to pull out from these conversations, kind of remove it from the context of the thread and the way people, I think, were responding to it. I would pull out a statement and just share it, retweet it, and show it standalone. And that one statement on itself was not, it was not objectionable. It was, someone saying, yeah, I don't agree with this. And yeah, they might have different reasons of why it happened or who started it. But at the end of the day, I think most people can agree that violence is not a good thing for any of our communities. Hate speech, no matter what our political or ideological affiliation, to transform it into violence is not a good thing. The conflict is actually a constructive thing. When you and I don't agree and we have a fight about it, that's okay, because it eventually leads to some equilibrium, some resolution. But if we become violent or insulting as a result, it doesn't progress. You never resolve it. So I think over time, this was kind of the experience that was evolving. And I think for many people, standing up against hate speech, it doesn't matter who, what side, but kind of just showing that together it's not acceptable. We can talk about something, we can disagree, but we shouldn't insult or demean each other for what we experience.
Thank you, Khoren. I think it's wonderful to hear about your experience, because we all have gone through it. And I think that the general idea that we share is that whatever the communication, it has to be within the norms. And I will we'll of course come back to your experience in the future, but I will have Andrea to ask questions to Lamiya to hear her experience.
Thank you, Rolf. Thank you, Khoren. Okay, so our next question, Lamiya, you've started various accounts on social media to try to initiate dialogue and empathy between Azerbaijanis and Armenians. You have also been on platforms trying to bring together painful narratives from both sides. Want to facilitate these discussions, and what has the experience been like?
Okay. Yeah, it's like I have I want to start like before this war, and do you remember July clash? Is like I cannot tell that I was the same person as today. So okay. I cannot tell like that I was a person who want to listen the Armenian side, or who want to know anything from Armenian side, or just think that they are also like the human beings as we are. So like for me the last year there was a like how can I say one of the important year in my life, because the what I learned in my life is like the completely changed, like which you believe that it's right, but you learn that it's wrong, it's not right. So firstly, like in July clash, I was active in social media, like but I was a person who blame always like you did this one, you did this one, no listening, like you have even not propaganda. I know like the real stories because of my family and relatives. It's just like you done this one, like they're on on social media, like they're complaining with the Armenians, but not that level, hatred or the cursing, not that level. But anyway, just I was blamer person. Then war started. It was like the really shocking experience, like because my brother was there. Then I was almost like except sleeping time, and I was always online, following any news, like when it will stop, this war will stop. But in first week, I didn't know like what's the word, like I was in shocking mode, and I didn't know like what I want, like to stop or to continue, or like to hate or to like opposite side, to listen. Like I didn't know. Then the video started on Telegram. First video I have seen from Armenian side, which shows the passport of Azerbaijani soldiers. After that 2 days I couldn't just be normal. Then I watched the Azerbaijani videos, some like the brutal videos, like this may be like one of the worst experience all we had, like the beheading videos. This was for me, maybe it was the worst, but it was the how can I say, teaching stuff, it teach me some stuff, because from childhood I just knew from Armenian side, Armenians done, like never like that can imagine that Azerbaijanis also can do it. So then it's like I start to question, like, okay, if you break my sacred value beliefs, so if my nation can do, it means so I cannot take side. I need to search, I need to listen, I need to start. Like after these videos, actually I started mostly to be like the listening opposite side. Also, like I start to ask my family about the Baku programs, some guide something, some neighborhood. So then I moved to Twitter and just followed, you know, in Twitter. It was really like, yeah, okay, it was worst place, also the best place for me just to see the Armenian side. Then the one day by one, it's like my mind changed, like I want to know more, I want to listen more, like instead of blaming. Okay, sometimes I blame because I was in emotional state, you know, because of but then after time I didn't know like whom I can blame, which side, where there is no one right, you know. Which like even you are part of the community, but you cannot take a side, because if you take a side, it's like you are how can I say, it's like you are cursing human values, because both sides like they have done so many awful stuff. So you can like yeah, many of us knows like for children, you know, for pregnant women, for just elders, for monuments, for heritage. Is like, so we are not white. We are not, our history and our past is not white. So then this made me to listen opposite sides. Like I find I created this page Kamancha. Unfortunately, I couldn't continue because it was it's really like how can I say, one of the best experience to listen opposite side. But unfortunately, like internet was full of the blamers, and so it's like some people like me cannot continue on project. Some people continue like a Rosa, like a Arno, Deco, and I was like I failed. But I wanted, when I started Kamancha, I want to just listen, you know. I didn't care like is Azerbaijan or the person is Azerbaijani or Armenian, but just human being. What happened to them, like what they experience is like not only you know, it's like some how can I say, they left their home, they left their where they was born, and they have seen like many stuff that even like insulting from the community which they was born. Even they are not part of this nation. I mean, like as Armenians in Baku and Azerbaijanis in Armenia, you know, like they had some past experience which they keep in their self, but they cannot talk. I want to when I open the Kamancha, I want to just, you know, contact with them and ask them, but I failed because some people didn't want to talk. They didn't want to open past. Also, like from Azerbaijani side, they like some of them they didn't want to be in Armenians. From Armenian side, like some of them didn't want to be in Azerbaijani. Some of them didn't trust me, and so I failed. Then stopped. But I can tell like how can I say, communication Armenian side, like in personal development, it helped me that to understand like the in conflict, generally in conflict transformation and understanding conflict, which we have how can I say, we generalize the communities, and we don't listen them. If we listen them, just listen what they have experienced, so the conflict we can solve better. But otherwise, if we blame so they become more like, how can I say, aggressive against us, because like I think the past tragedies all in both community, we have to listen just to close that page, not and in the future, like any politicians or any others people, like some people who has interest, they cannot open this page for their interest, you know. Sorry for my, I just
Perfect. I agree with so much with what you said, and it's important to hear what the other side has to hear, and it can be difficult, but it's good that you're at least attempted and you tried. Let's go to our next question now with back to Rolf for Rosa.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you, Lamia, for sharing your experience. Yeah, Rosa, you're moderator in Kavkazskiy Perekrestok, which means Caucasus Road. It's the mainly Russian-speaking Facebook group that has gathered a lot of attention and activity among Armenians and Azerbaijanis. Could you share with us a little bit about your experience and how you ended up in it?
It started from in September when started war. And I just was watching how both sides fighting for Karabakh, you know. Another side praying to God, oh my God, please help to back our land. Another side saying, no, that for me was been so interesting because when it was been first war, I was been so small. I almost didn't know anything, didn't be too much attention for this thing to read or, you know. And I started to open and check, search everything. Why? Where's the problem? What's going on? What's happening? Why they are like that? You know, what this side lost, what another side lost. And when I find a lot information which really crashed me. You know, it's the truth which we didn't know. Many things which we didn't know. And I feel really so bad because I have this information and many people don't know about it, but little by little everybody will find out from both sides what's going on and why it's like that. And I decided, okay, people want to live in together, but they just can't. 30 years they don't see each other, you know. They see each other, but just from TV, something they can hear or something like that. But that connection don't exist, you know. To meet, to talk, to send message, to find out what's going on, what this one feel. And I started just to find friends, you know, and just to start to comment, to search friends, to talk, just talk. Just I was going in as news, you know, and just commenting, just like normal people starting to talk. And from beginning they was fighting, you know, what you doing here, you know, go, you have your news, go and comment there, you know. And I'm just continuing with this thing. Second day, third day, nobody not telling me anything, you know. Fourth day, just they like what I'm saying because I'm just talking about peace, you know. Why not? Yes, I see the example from Azerbaijan, people's lost them lands where they born, where they grow up, where they was working, was living. Why to not go there and to not start to live? Why? In this world have a lot of land. We can share with everyone. In the end, just some small part we will have, you know, where we will go. So before that, why to not enjoy life? Why to not talk? That's our generation. Now it's our generation can change a lot of things. Now it's our time, you know, and next generations too. And let's start from that, you know, to start to change everything, to help each other, to know each other, to connect with each other. And I find some friends, he's from Azerbaijani, and he was commenting too, and he told me, you know, I have some group, but because I am born just alone there, I can't do anything. Can you join me? You need to be admin there, model. And why not? I'm saying I can. And I'm going in this group. We are starting together, you know, just after a few days, we close it. We closed it because of some people, you know, nationalists, you know, they just was taking, you know, it's people so sensual, just war, stop it, you know, and it's so hard. And because it's Caucasus, you know, we are not like that so simple saying, okay, we will continue next time, next level coming, you know, we will open again, we will try again this thing, you know, it's not the end. And I'm saying, okay, if they taking its problem, you know, I will do that. I will try that. Who cares? Let's try to see what will happen. And then I was saving that messages, that people with who we was talking, you know, and I'm starting to search them and saying, look, we closed it, but now we've opened it. Can you join us? And people's coming. People really, really want to talk. We was having some bad information about each other, which is totally not true. totally not true. And when we was talking, we find other, how it's going like that, what that mean, why they saying about that's like this one, that's true, and from Armenian side saying, we was thinking Azerbaijani people like that, it's bad or something. Another side saying, we didn't imagine what with Armenian can talk normal, because they thinking, oh my God, they are wolf, can talk with them. And what is interesting, we are like totally same, just one thing, it's two things, it's different, it's religion and it's language. And with another things, we are like totally same. Eating food, okay, we can fight about food, we can fight about everything. In the end, we can drink coffee together. In the end, we can say bye, see you next time. So when people come and starting to talk, I just see what my group is growing up, and thanks to another mothers which I find, and they helping me, nine of us there, 4 from an Azerbaijan side, 4 from Armenia side. They doing a lot of jobs. They helping me a lot. I'm so thankful because I find them. I'm so thankful because I found a lot of friends. And when you're going out from this group, you can see from other places, how people's fighting, and you say, oh my God, I need to rest a little bit. I'm going there again to talk a little bit like normal people, to not fight with each other, to not tell, what, go learn history, and another saying, you learn history. No, just normal, without too much, without that politic things, because we don't need, it's enough how much politics I have in our life. We just want to connect with each other, to find out about our lives. How many people was living in Armenia, in Yerevan? How many people have from Baku? How many people came which were born in Agdam? We meet each other in that group, They just want back them houses to see, they want build, want back everything. When was been day of Sumgait and was been day a Khojali day, they just, how much that was been so sensitive. They're just commenting, they're just talking with each other and say, I'm so sorry because it's happening like this, and I hope so next time will, that it was been so sensual. So when you read in every comment, I can't believe what that's both nations talking like this good with each other. And yes, it's just normal connection. When someone is a little bit aggression, have this he's mad on you, but you are a little bit calm, and he see what you just want to talk with him, he will leave. Maybe Azerbaijanis and Armenians people, they are so sensual, they like to fight, but they are so sensual. If you little bit normal, starting, just not important which side, Armenian or Azerbaijan, and you see you're not coming for fight, they just like stop everything, like go, and just starting to talk, starting normal. After a few days, you see they want to be friends with you. Not just, it's not enough just little bit comments, just they want. And I don't know, I just that's war. It's the worst thing which happened, and that's, can't tell, maybe it's little bit have sarcasm in this thing, but the best thing which happened too, because opened eyes for a lot of people. I feel so bad because many people died. We lost a lot from both sides. They don't deserve it. No, nobody don't deserve, because every mom born them kid, and they just not born them for war, didn't born them for die, But after this war, a lot of people see a lot of things which they didn't see before, And I hope so. Day by day will be good. Day by day, people will understand each other more and more. That hate will not be anymore. In now example, we have some project in June in Moscow, where we'll be meeting for Azerbaijan and Armenian people. We will meet each other. And next meeting will be in Georgia. We will see how that will be, we just need to talk about it. First in Moscow. Like that. I'm so sorry because of kids.
Thank you. Thank you, Rosa. And thank you for your sacrifice. I know that your mom and the kids are around. We'll have Andrea to take it from here. I think we have our speaker from UK, Aisel.
Okay, so back to Aisel. So you're part of a more private, friendship-oriented Twitter group chat that brings together Armenians, Azerbaijanis, Turks, and other people from the Caucasus and Anatolia. How has the experience been, and have you been able to bond with Armenians?
So, I'll just start a little bit of basics. I've never used Twitter as often as I have the past, like after the war, basically. I didn't really keep up with the war too much on Twitter. I know it was like really toxic, so I didn't really want to get in too much into it. But then, I don't know, something changed like after the war when it ended, when I heard that there was a, I guess like a capitulation and it ended. I was thinking, okay, like what now? So I just started to keep up more with what was going on, and I just got sucked in because, I'm not perfect, so my opinions have changed over time as well. I'm not that I was ever hateful or anything like that. I didn't really have any prejudices, but I kind of got sucked into the whole, getting into petty Twitter fights sometimes, and nothing constructive coming out of it. And eventually I did kind of calm down a bit. Maybe I got out my system, I don't know, but then I kind of just, started to listen a bit more. And I knew, it's nothing new to me that I knew, obviously, that there are people on the other side, they're just also probably just as angry as I am about the situation. So, I live in it's not a big city, but it's not small either. So I don't live in London. And I wanted to kind of have my own experience of maybe making friends with, Armenians. So there's not a lot of them here. And there's not a lot of even Azerbaijanis here that I'm familiar with. So I just kind of wanted to have some sort of connection of my own. And, I started talking to people like slowly, like commenting on Twitter. And eventually I came across like a post that was saying, they're going to make a chat group consisting of, Greeks, Turks, Azerbaijanis, Armenians. And I thought this sounds, interesting. And eventually, like after a few days, I asked if, I could join, and perhaps I just wanted to see what was going on. And, there was some trial and errors, like there was some people that came and left because maybe they were too sensitive to talk about some things. And they couldn't let go, and we just wanted to have like a normal conversation about things. Like, I guess it was a space where, and it wasn't even anything serious to start with, and it's not even serious now, I guess. It's just literally a group of friends by now. And it feels like a little bit of a safe space where you can, you can ask stuff about, if you are curious about a certain issue or about a certain, event. You can ask something, be interested, and you don't get judged for it. And, you're not asking out of anything in spite. You're not asking because you're trying to be hateful. You're maybe asking because you want to hear genuinely what the other person thinks. And so I found that it's a good space for that. And I did learn a few things that perhaps I wouldn't have if I went out my own way, because I do find it better to learn from people rather than from I guess like reading an article or something. It's easier to connect and it's easier to empathize that way. So yeah, it's really silly. Sometimes we just have like back and forth banter going around, like we just kind of joke around a lot. And sometimes it's just a nice little space where you can just chat normally about any kind of anything that's, let's say, the current temas on Twitter, and you would have your own discussions there, and you'd start thinking, these people are still bickering about, some things. And we've managed to kind of get past that, and we're just friends now. We literally just talk about anything and everything. So yeah, it's been a nice space for that. I didn't expect, well, maybe I expected a little bit that we would be so similar, because I already knew that this whole conflict was just so silly in my head anyway. I know that people have went through like real traumatic events, and there's some horrific stories. But at the end, it still feels, especially online, I think it feels really silly and just childish sometimes. Because yeah, it is just a bunch of people shouting at each other, and they're not, having anything meaningful. And even I remember posting sometimes about how, I wish, there to be peace or something. I think I commented on one Armenian girl's post, and she was saying how she was basically acknowledging the traumas of both sides, and I was like, thank you, for acknowledging that. And I started to get comments from Azerbaijanis saying, why are you sucking up to this Armenian, and blah blah blah. So I think it's really difficult to be in public like that on a public platform and to say anything empathizing about the other side, because then you get attacks from your own side saying, you're a sellout, or you're not an Azerbaijani, you're an Armenian, and all this kind of silly stuff. And so yeah, it's not the best space, I think, social media in general, to have conversations, but it's nice to see that there's like little pockets of hope, because I think people could be a lot more volatile online than they are in person. They feel more brave, obviously. Behind the screen, they just say whatever comes first to mind, and they can't imagine that there's another person on the other side kind of speaking to them, and everyone just resorts to insults. And yeah, it's not a great space, but it's good when you do find something that you can, that you can talk to people normally and just kind of bond.
Thank you. Whoever's been called a traitor by your community, please stand up now. It's horrible, but yeah, it's fine. The good thing about it is you find like what you're saying, these little pockets. So if you look in the right places, sometimes the good things come to you. Okay, so back to Raw for our next question.
Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, I fully feel you, Aisel, about the toxicity of Twitter and social media. We all have gone through this, but again, thank you for keeping up. About the personal contact, I know both Lamiya and Aisel and Rosa mentioned it about the lack of the personal contact. And I want to ask you, Khoren, you're based in part of California, there's a sizable Azerbaijani community in the north. Have you ever engaged or have you ever thought about engaging in any in-person interaction with Azerbaijanis or Turks, and to discuss these issues, or in general just to talk to them?
So I can start with as far as Turks and Persians. I've met a lot. We always have things to talk about. It's usually in a professional setting. It could be a conference or a coffee or something. And I think we take away from those conversations, we usually take away that we have more similarities than we do differences. And I think that's a common theme for all of the people of Anatolia and the Caucasus. We're all very similar, and we have similar interests and things that we care about. Specifically, I'd not had any interactions with Azerbaijanis. In retrospect, I wonder whether I knew they were Azerbaijani because maybe they didn't tell me, or maybe I assumed they could be Turkish or even Persian, something different. I'm born with a very Armenian name, so I think I wonder sometimes how that sets the tone for the conversation, because it's not like a semi-Armenian name. I think it's a very Armenian name. But starting last year, I started to think, even before the conflict broke out, we had the escalations earlier in the year, and Actually, in our local Armenian community and the local Azerbaijani community, there were a couple things that happened. One was the vandalism of a school. There was also a vandalism of a community center. So this is Armenian and Azerbaijani respectively. And then also an arson, a burning of a church office. And what really disappointed me is both groups went immediately to the news and the media. I think, when things like this happen, the communities, some representatives of the community should come to each other. To me, especially in the Bay Area, we're not in Azerbaijan, we're not in Armenia, we're not in Karabakh. We're in San Francisco. When something happens, when someone gets hurt or someone could have gotten hurt or there's violence like this, really community leaders or somebody needs to come together with the other side and make some kind of statement saying this is wrong. Yeah, we have our problems, this and that, but it's wrong. So coming back to your question, I haven't had any opportunities, especially around politics or the conflict, to meet in person or talk in person. Part of it is lockdowns and COVID related. It wasn't a good time these last couple of years, but I really hope that moving forward, especially in the diasporas around the world, we can have these community groups that can form some kind of, they should have the phone number of another person, because at the end of the day, that's what needs to align us towards peace. You don't have to like the other person, but you have to be against violence, because it can happen to you, it can happen to someone else. It's happening to all of us because it spreads. It's like a rotten fruit. You put a moldy fruit in the basket, that mold is going to spread. So I hope we set up these dialogues. The grassroots is nice. I think we need more of it, more media, more content together. And I think that officially too, there should be at least some skeleton of a dialogue between community leaders.
Thank you, Khoren. I give you all the credit because of the name. Unfortunately for you, one of the main characters in a very well-known movie about Karabakh in Azerbaijan, the main character, Armenian character's name is Khoren, and probably that's why Azerbaijani is, and also, I mean, it's very specific to Armenian. That's why probably you will have some challenges but I have a lot of friends in San Jose and San Francisco. I'm pretty sure they will be happy to talk to you. Thank you again. This is great, and I will have now Andrea to take it over.
Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna go back to Lamiya. So Lamiya, your family has a lot of connections to the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. Can you share a little bit with us about these stories and how it has brought you closer to engaging with other Armenians?
My family, my mom is
Sorry, Lamiya, could you bring your mic a little closer? I can't really hear you.
Sorry.
Thank you so much.
My mom was journalist from first Karabakh War. My dad is the war veteran. From first war. My brother is second war veteran. My uncle also one of the relatives also close, also my cousin all veterans, full of veteran family. So to be honest, even though I was born in veteran family when I was a child, even though not child, in the time, I didn't want to listen that stories more, and they didn't talk also about the stories. Like my dad never talk about the
Lamiya, could I interrupt you? Could you just because I don't know if everyone can hear, but it cuts off a little bit. Go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear now?
Yeah, that's good.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, my father didn't speak about anything. Like just he told everything to my mom when first war happened after war. That time, especially when he was drunk, he just told stories because he didn't want to talk about any war, anything. It was very that to him to talk about the past days. And my mom also we have the war archive at home. Photos like sound recorded. This photos, by the way, is like from Kupatlı, just before is from my house. My mom archive. Yeah, then, but few years last year actually, like last year I got interested more to know about it. I had enough information about the one side, and I thought that I know everything. Like, I listened my mom, and I listened the sounds from the war, even during from in front line, and there's some old interviews were taken by my mom. But I thought that I knew everything. Just one side of coin when you see and you think that you know how coin look like. Then yes, I thought after seeing this video, just then okay, I am really ignorant person. I am ignorant person. I know maybe I can know the many things, the real thing from my mom's archive, but the another part of coin is missing. So I need to contact with Armenian side. I need to this wartime was after a few months. I always just watching something from Armenian side, movies or just documentary. I read in their forum, just I was active also in Twitter. I had the account. I think most of you know my account. So I always want to know from Armenian side. Okay, last month I just talked this Karabakh problem because it's sometimes maybe for some people it's fun to be engaged in conflict or blame or curse the opposite side, but for some people who has a family history, it's also always some problems with the conflict. It's too much, sometimes you want to break time, you don't want even to see anything, any history, even you don't want to if some war happens again, maybe I will not watch anything, I will not follow, because sometimes for people who are somehow affected by conflict, it's they want to just, how can I say, they have enough pain, grief related to this conflict. They want to just stop it, not listen anymore, not to see anymore, just live like a normal person, just care about daily issues. Yes, but because to solve this conflict, I think I will continue after a few months. I will continue engaging with Armenians again to learn about from Armenian side more, to how can I say, to fix this puzzle, to listen just my side, Azerbaijani side, Armenian side, so then I can even not, I cannot solve anything, but at least I can understand when someone is cursing me from Armenian side. Maybe I can understand he has some problem, he or he has some problem on the past and some pain. So so if he curse me, so it's because not he's bad person, but something stayed in itself, and from my side, not enough people listen to them. So that's why he's cursing me, or he hates, or he or she hates me. So I can understand more, that I can make empathy instead of just, okay, you are a bad person, you're cursed, you hate us.
Thank you, Lamiya. And
Yeah, all we need is 17 million of people like you then we'll be fine. I will switch to Rosa, who is based in Bosnia. Is known for the obvious reasons for the conflict. And actually, when you read about the history about the First War, which unfortunately we all have gone through, the Karabakh War has always remained in the shadows of the Balkan War, especially in the beginning, in the First War. I wanted to ask you, Rosa, about the comparison between two conflicts and your personal background and about your personal experience about the conflict in Balkans and how that affected your thinking about the Armenian and Azerbaijan conflict.
First of all, when I watching on these peoples, Serbian, how Serbians and Bosnian peoples, how they connect with each other, how they after all this thing which happened, they are like again friends. I just can't believe, but I'm so happy because of course, you just, if you want, you can do everything. Have a lot similarity between our war and war in Bosnia. In Bosnia was been a lot more, maybe same tragic with a lot deaths, genocide and everything for a few days. Just because few days in Srebrenica died 10,000 people. Just maybe 3 or 7 days died. I think like that something. 10,000 people died there, and many families they just lost them. Kids, grandma burned alive, and another side just houses with people. So it was been like horror movie. When I was listening. It's so scary. But when I see how they again continue, talk, going out together, working, and getting married with, and I don't know, they find out how to make deal, how to. Of course, they trying to not continue with that hate. They didn't forget, they didn't forgive, but they understand if they will continue all these things, that will start with next generations, that's another generation, and in the end nobody will not be happy, just everybody will die, and that's all. And that countries, when I see, I watched them, heard them stories, and started to think if they can make peace in country where 100,000 deaths and about 1 million refugees, build peace again, so why Kavkaz will not do that same things, our people. And they even, how much it's interesting, they can talk and joke about war. They're joking. It's how much need to have that, how much need to have that's immunity, like that I say, I just don't know in English. How much need to be strong for, and before 1 month, some president was talking about Bosnia, how they want to Serbs will be without Bosnians, to separate or something like this. What's happening? Just all peoples go out, Bosnians and Serbians, they was be near that building where is president, and just they was telling, if you will try to make war, you will be that one who will go out from this country. It was been so interesting. I was thinking, oh my God, again war will be, what that people's talking, they pushing, but you can't anymore. You just can't. When it's you pushing, you trying, but you see what people just don't want. They understand what they will again. Lost many people. They will lost them kids. They will lost them grandma's wife and boys. A lot will die. It just they don't want that. They don't care about what they talking, what they want to do, how they trying to push. They just don't care. They just go out and just talk that if will be war, you will be that one who will go out. Next day he just changed his talk and he's saying, no, if will be war, I will not do that, because they see what they just can't. Next move, it's not possible anymore. And I'm so happy. Why not? Why to not living together? Why to not be peace? It's perfect. You just go and drinking coffee with your friends. You just joking. You working with those people, getting married. And life is perfect. I just hope I have that. I'm watching here what's going on, and I have that hope, you know. Before a few days, we saw that I have some good news. And because of this, I'm saying why we are so sensitive people, you know. Armenians and Azerbaijanis, they are same, you know. They, for a few seconds, after a few seconds, they can fight, and then in the end, you see they get normal, you know, just burning and then going down, burning, going down, because of so sensual. And what's been that little bit like fight around that lake, Black Lake, I think something like that's called, you know. Before a few days was been this thing, and after that. Come in that car who bring in food for Armenian people. And there was been something like, you know, I don't know how they say in English, car just can't go because a lot of water and a lot of lands, you know, and just can't go. Armenian soldiers pushing, you know, pushing and just can't move that car, and that's all. Azerbaijan is watching, you know. That's our friends was telling, we'll be so soon in our group, we will publish this thing, that's news to listen. And he's saying that they watching on us, you know, watching to see what will be, and they see we just can't, you know, move that thing. They came to help, you know. They push it together, you know, move it out, that car, and in the end he's saying we were starting to share with each other food and joke. Oh my God, I'm saying, so that little bit they fighting, and in the end, you can see that light, you know, you can see that light, you can see what everything. I never in my life didn't blame people. No, nobody. It's when happening some war, they are not. It's not their fault. Nobody don't want to go out from them houses. Nobody don't want to fight. Nobody will not think about war, but because people just what they thinking to go for to have money, to buy food, to live in normal, and that's all what they want. Because of that, I'm always, when I'm thinking about this, no, it's not. They are just, how they say in English, I just don't know. You know, Yignonek, who was being that you know, when doing Bayram, you're just killing him.
A lamb sacrifice.
Yes, sacrifice. People, they don't want. Nobody in this world don't want war. Nobody. It's not them idea. They just don't want it. But in the end, it's coming on them. You know, they lost. They lost, and that's all. Nobody. We just lost. But I have that hope. I find many good friends, and I hope so soon I will see them. We have a lot of good plans, and I hope so everything will be good, and we'll meet each other, and so soon maybe will be the best solution to they will come in Armenia, we will go there. I don't know, we're just dreaming now a little bit, but after will be good, I hope so.
Thank you, Rosa. Yeah, I think there are a lot of similarities between Balkan conflict and our conflict. Of course, yes. None of them were religious wars, but the religion, you know, there's a similarity in the difference in the religions as well. And there also, I mean, you brought up the similarity between Armenians and Azerbaijanis and the temper that they have. You know, they yes. You know, they get mad very fast, and then they vent, okay. And I hope that this you know, this situation will apply to it. One of the similarities that I saw throughout the war was how mothers from both sides were throwing water after their children when they were going to the war. And yes. I mean, I could see it from Armenians doing it and Azerbaijanis doing it, sending their kids to fight with the same tradition, and then kneeling before them when they came back, and they both did it. It shows how, you know, how similar we are actually. Thank you again, Rosa. I'll have Andrea to take it from here. I think we have one more question.
Yes, thank you. So we're going to go back to Aisel. Do you think being a diasporan Azeri helps you connect more easily with diasporan Armenians? Have you had any encounters with diasporan Armenians before this group chat that you are part of?
Whether it's because I'm a diasporan, which makes it easier for me to connect or not, I'm not honestly sure. It could be that I'm not so heavily involved personally, and I'm not like living, you know, in the Caucasus. So I'm not seeing the aftermath of the events. But, you know, honestly, I'm not sure. Maybe that's one of the reasons. Personally, I have had very limited experience meeting diaspora Armenians or Armenians in general. But while we were living in Lithuania, like even my parents have told me stories before of how in their village in Azerbaijan, they had neighbors who were Armenians, and they always spoke quite fondly of them. It was always quite like, my mom especially had like fond like childhood memories of her Armenian neighbor who used to give like, I don't know, like chewing gum or sweets to her, like, and call her, I don't know, like sweet kind of Azeri names. So yeah, they had like a good memories, I think. And then probably, you know, I was too young to remember the war. I don't think I was even born yet, actually, but my brother was, but it still does remember, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, probably after the war, maybe my mom had a bit more of a tainted view of what happened after the First War. She's not, neither of my parents, I wouldn't describe them as, you know, being Armenophobic or anything like that. But my mom probably has a bit more maybe prejudices towards them than my dad does. And it's nothing hateful, it's just silly things like, you know, oh, they have, I don't know, the running joke, right? The running joke of they've got big noses. But then like, it's funny because my dad's got a big nose, or, you know, the president has a big nose. So, you know, it's very silly. You know, who doesn't have a big nose in our area, right? But, you know, in Lithuania, we had, you know, Armenians living as well alongside Azerbaijanis. And I think my parents had some acquaintances. They probably weren't very like close friends or anything, but they had some acquaintances. And I think after the war, there was a few stories popping up from my parents that they just, I don't know, I guess they were just sharing with us. And we were quite young, so I don't remember this, but my mom says that there was an Armenian that came by our town. So he was just kind of passing through town, I guess. And he was my dad's army friend. And he spoke to my dad, he asked if he could stay the night with us. And my mom was just so afraid, and she was just scared. You know, she was just, you know, I guess maternal instincts, right? You've got two kids, you're thinking there's a war, or there was a war. And she was saying, no way, you can't stay, you know, who knows what could happen. It's not a good climate for this. And my dad says, no, don't worry, we can trust him. He's my friend, you know, all's good. So my dad was just adamant that it's okay, it's fine, you can stay with us. So he stayed with us. And my mom, it's a funny story because nothing happened. But my mom says that she slept the night with like a knife under her pillow because she was just, you know, afraid. It's not that she was going to do anything. It was more in case of self-defense, I guess, which is silly, you know. But yeah, all good. That's like one of the small stories that they told me. And then personally myself, I had my first encounter like that I remember, you know, when I was like a teenager, when I started work and working in a restaurant, I, you know, met so many people from different backgrounds, Greeks, Cypriots, you know, even Persians, etc. And I remember when I joined, there was this guy who looked like familiar. You know, you just have this like familiar face, and you're thinking, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you know, is he one of like, is he Azerbaijani? Is he from my area? He looks like we could be related even. And I think he approached me and he said, you know, where are you from? And I said, I'm from Lithuania, but my parents are from Azerbaijan. And he said, oh, I'm Greek Armenian. And I'm like, oh, right, nice, yes. And he kind of started speaking to me. You know, we're not very good friends now because it's been years and he's moved away. But I don't think he knew much about the conflict. We never spoke anything about the conflict or anything like that. And but it was good to have that interaction, I think, because we just kind of spoke together in Russian. He says, hey, can I speak Russian with you and have like practice my Russian? And I'm like, yeah, sure, we can talk. So that's how we communicated. And then he told me a story of, you know, meeting an Azerbaijani girl in university. And he said that he had this experience where she looked at him like in fear and just kind of, ran away, I guess, because she found out he's Armenian. He was just asking me, why is that? For what reason? And I said, honestly, I don't really know, probably because of the war. But I just thought, even myself, I thought that was a very exaggerated response. But yeah, I mean, it's been very limited for me. However, with this chat that I'm in, I think it's nice to be able to bond with Armenians, because we do have so much in common. And even not with just Armenians, even I found with Greeks, with Cypriots, with Persians, Turks, there's so many similarities, even like Romanians, even, anyone who's kind of ex-Soviet, I found so many kind of similarities, sometimes even with food, and it's so petty to just fight all these things. It's, of course, we're going to be intertwined, our cultures. There's never like a clear cut of, this is where my people are, this is where their people are. You're always going to have some similarities. It's like it's woven into each other. So, yeah, I think out of all, and it's really surprising, and not surprising, but funny, we used to make a joke about it in the chat, that out of all the people there's, in the chat, that there was Greeks, there was Turks, there was some other Caucasians. Out of all of those people, it was the Azerbaijanis and the Armenians that actually got on the most, and had the most to share and the most to talk about. So I do find that an interesting dynamic of how, even though we like to demonize each other so much, if you actually sat down and maybe spoke to them, you'll find that you have much more in common than you're willing to admit sometimes. So yeah, that's been good.
Nice, thank you. And let's go back to just our closing kind of questions. Ralph, do you want to do the next one?
Yeah, this is for everyone, I guess, and we want to know, what have you learned from the other side that you were not aware of? You had no idea that the other side had that specific element or tradition or whatever, and how that impacted your thinking. But the most important part is, like, what was the thing that you've learned and you didn't know that the other side had?
Should we go in the same order?
Anyone start? Yeah, you guys are. You want to go ahead, Khoren?
Sure. Yeah, I think I've heard a lot. Everybody else kind of mentioned the similarities between people. One of the ones that really stood out in my mind was also mentioned here, the throwing of the water behind someone when they travel. I had no idea that was always just something quirky. We laugh about, and I do. My joke in my family is I get the biggest bucket of water and just do something ridiculous afterwards. But I thought it was really interesting that other people do too. I had no idea. The other one is the hospitality. I think there's an irony in that both Azerbaijanis and Armenians are, relatively speaking, very hospitable. I don't think you can leave their homes without being well fed and well loved. And Aisel, I really love your story because it comes back to a phrase I used to use about hospitality. So when you're talking about your dad's friend who stayed at your home, I always had this ironic joke that they say, well, Armenians and Azerbaijanis will even house their enemies. We're that hospitable that even the enemy can stay inside the home, but maximum 3 days. After 3 days, it's not acceptable. So overall for me, the experience has been in hearing the personal stories. Of course, I can read history books, I can read political analysts, and those are a perspective as well. But I think at the end of the day, we're all individuals, and your stories and how you tell them are more important than any number or any analysis of the situation. And I'm happy to see communities forming and dialogues forming, and I hope that that people continue to talk about these events as not, 200 versus 300, or who died more, who had it worse, but adding them together and saying 500 people perished. They were both Armenian and Azerbaijani. These are the victims. And we're talking right now not to forget, but we're talking right now so it doesn't, because we don't want it to happen again. So it's not forgetting, it's remembering, and that's why we're forming these dialogues. So anyway, I'm probably digressing from the question, but the individual stories are always the most meaningful for me personally. So thank you for all of you who have shared them.
Yeah, I completely agree that any look into the history should be from the perspective of remembering and learning, not arguing and making a point and saying that, more people died from one side. And also, yeah, we should, it's too soon, but I think we should start inching towards us and our versus we, they, them, and, the other side. I think because no one else in the world cares about this conflict except Azerbaijanis and Armenians. And throughout the war, we saw that international community was silent. Whoever was interested politically was due to their political motivations. But it's between us. It's us versus, it has to be solved within the family. Yeah, if you guys have other experiences, please, Aisel, Rosa, and please feel to share it.
I will just chime in a little bit. I always knew that there were similarities between us, I think. That's nothing that's new to me, but I think when I did start chatting to people, I was a bit surprised of how much even the language has similarities. Like, even though obviously the root might not be, Azerbaijani, might be like Persian root word, but we use the same words for some things. And I think that's something probably that I didn't expect. I expected, traditions maybe to be similar, and maybe like, hospitality wise. But I thought, okay, surely the language will be different, because I couldn't understand a word. I couldn't even make out a word from, the alphabet at all, or even when they type in Latin alphabets, I couldn't understand anything. But there is like similarities in words, and that's really interesting to me, and something I think that we should be embracing, that there is similarities. What I did learn, maybe because I didn't actually know a lot about it, and I didn't really go out of my way maybe to look into it, was, let's say, about the Armenian genocide, because, okay, I've heard about it, but I didn't really know, like, let's say, the details. So I think that was good for me maybe to know about it and to learn about it, and to kind of grow from it and form a better opinion about it. And also, vice versa, I hope that us talking to Armenians in the chat also shed light on some of the topics from Azerbaijani side that they perhaps didn't know, or that they learned about. So I think that's a small thing, or it's a big thing, depend on your interpretation. But for me, that's probably one of the things that I learned, because I think I always anticipated there's going to be similarities, because we're just so close to each other. We're neighbors, right? And we've been in the same Soviet Republic, everything. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay, if you, Lamiya,
Okay.
if you wanted to add just last things before we go to like our closing remarks, go right ahead.
Yeah, For me, like I was born in Baku, and most of my life I lived in Azerbaijan, so I didn't see any Armenian in my life. Like for me, like firstly, was shocked to see that they look like us because I never have imagination. Just I had the imagination about Armenians, like the soldier with bird mustache too much. That was my only like the imagination about Armenian, you know. Then second one was for me maybe for some people can sound strange, but for me it's like for me it's shocked also to see that Armenians also conservative people like Azerbaijanis. Because you know it's Christian communities, so we have imagination like the all Christians, like our like the you know Westerns, Russians. They don't have mentality like we have it. So it's like for us, it's not about religion, just but most about mentality. When I just saw that the Armenians so conservative like we are, so I was shocked. I was shocked that the man just caring about the clothing of the wife, woman, you know, it's like the it's like about also virginity or something, some stuff. Like for me, it was really shocking. Like all my imagination was like different. And then like last like other stuff like last years after war, I just learned just many also the common words. And they share the common tradition, like the belief system. I have watched one wedding, also is like Armenians from Azerbaijan, exactly same as Azerbaijan. You know, if they don't speak in Armenian, I cannot tell they are Armenians. So I was like, for me, like how can I say? I like culture, like the culture studies mostly. For me, it was really like how to even the war. It was bad. It's like it was point to make me okay. Let's learn this group. Let's learn, and then see such even some stupid stuff. You know, breaking the glass, and I saw the one as Armenian woman just breaking glass. Like at such police we have also in Azerbaijan. So some groups, you know, depend on region. So such stupid stuff it like made me happy. Also hearing, you know, during the war, there was a what's that tactic or something, gör bagör. It was the funniest part for me to hear the gör bagör.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, there are a lot of common words that I've learned throughout the conflict, unfortunately, too. Yeah, fortunately.
I remembered something. And before Novruz, or when it's Novruz time, you know, when making fire and jumping. Yes, it's that period.
Yeah.
We have something like this too, but we call it Tarandes. It's in February. We made in dates and jumping. It's a they do that's it for people who just get married. You know, in this period you jump in, and it's for luck and for everything, for good things. You know, made in fire and jumping on this fire, and have something else too near church. We was watching about some church, and near church in Azerbaijan it was been on trees. Something from when you have some wishes, you know, you can just put on the trees. That's thing we have in my country too, in Armenia, near some church and somewhere near Yerevan. If you have some wishes, you just like this doing, and it will be okay. We lie into each other like this, okay? We know it's not true, but we have that hope, you know.
I mean,
will be
even the tying
yes.
on a tree.
Yes,
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, that thing. And when kid is small, you know, near hand, you know, you're doing that small things from red, you know, like it's saving kid. And when it's Bayram, you need to take some, it's like that's going. Kurban Bayram calling. But we don't have special day, but we buying like that's example, we buying lamp in Armenia, we call it that's matach. You know, we just killing him and taking little bit blood near here to save us, you know. And then we're sharing that food for people from. I think need to give it in 7 houses, you know, just giving like that. Same.
Do you have that blood dot thing?
Yes, like that. I was having that when I remember so good when I was being kid, you know, they're doing like that thing.
Just to tell everyone, it's when they cut the animal, they dip a finger and then they put a dot on your head, which is a weird tradition, but apparently both Armenians and Azerbaijanis have it. And my kids are still traumatized from that. When they were in Baku, their parents did that, and they're still talking about it. And you know, Americans, but yeah, we have the same thing.
Yes, that's from beginning when they want to kill animal, they say some words. And I remember my grandfather was doing like that. He says some words and then he killing him, and they taking that blood, and here everywhere in blood we walking like that. The bloody everywhere. Like I imagine some people from United States coming in Armenia that period, and everywhere like that walking. You know, they. Oh my God, weird people.
My daughter came and told the story to her vegan teacher, and she's still shocked, I think, because that was unbelievable.
Yeah, I was been vegan 5 years, and I remember when I was talking with my friend from Azerbaijan, and then they saying, "You're not eating meat? How you cannot eat kebab?" That's I hear it from beginning when I was being vegan, from my father saying, "You don't want to eat my kebab, you don't want to eat my shawarma, you are crazy." I'm saying I can't sit, I just can't anymore. Don't want.
The next conflict in the region will be between vegans and the meat eaters, I think.
That will be so hard.
All right, I think we're ready for the Diego. I think you want to say something.
Yes,
right?
Sure. We open now the floor for the audience. If you want to ask any questions to any of our guests, or some comment, constructive, of course, you can do so, or you can raise your hand and so we can have some order, or you can write on the chat. And if not, we might chime in as well. So somebody has some questions. Otherwise, I think one of our co-organizers, yet not host today, has a question that he would like to ask, right, Arnold?
Sure. Do we have any other questions first?
Well, not yet. So while somebody chimes in, you can ask your question if you want.
Yeah, sure. And so this is something about any of our guests who've been involved in, more private and in-person dialogue with other people, one-on-ones. How much of an impact does that have? And I want to bring this example. So this Armenian guy, he asked me, Arnold, you seem to talk to Azeris, but I've never met an Azeri person who have had a respectful discussion with, I don't know anyone. And the same day I had spoken with Lamiya earlier. So I just asked her, Lamiya, you want to join on a video chat with us? And she said, sure. And after that, this guy changed forever. He's like, oh, I didn't know, there were people like this on the other side. And from that day on, he has been speaking differently, about the topic of speaking with Azerbaijanis, etc. So I was wondering what any of you think about sort of just the power of a single conversation with someone. Doesn't have to be in a big platform, but, person to person, one-on-one.
So I guess maybe I can comment a little bit. For me personally, the one-on-one, the personal conversations are the most meaningful. It's when you read things, especially in these kinds of politicized tension, highly politicized and highly tense situations, sometimes it's hard to believe something. And when you read it, you don't know if it's true, if it's fake. So the individual stories, I think there's just something more palatable and it can be more real. So I think those those are very important. Social media also kind of throws a curveball in that I think a lot of the ways that the algorithms are written in this information age is whatever the algorithm thinks your interest or your affiliation or your view is, it tries to send you more content that just fortifies that view. So I know, like, social media was new to me, but I know how it works. And I just kept seeing people kept messaging me saying, you know, how can you talk to Armenians or Azerbaijanis? And I'm getting both, because Armenians assume I'm Azerbaijani, Azerbaijanis assume I'm Armenian. And they're saying, why are you talking to the other people? This and that. But they weren't seeing that they weren't seeing that whole other side, because it wasn't part of their network. So they weren't seeing the tweets of Armenians denouncing Khojaly, or Azerbaijanis talking about the genocide and how that was acknowledging the harm that the genocide that it did. So I think it's something to remember that the digital world is very different from the real world. There is no replacement for it. And just because we don't see something, we have to know that there's some artificial aspect of it. Even the hate speeches, sometimes they're from unknown, anonymous people that you don't even know if they're real accounts. Some of the things that they're saying, they're just there to antagonize. I don't know. You know, there's different motivations for why. So anyway, I think just being more educated on these things and then realizing that underneath it all, it's individual people to people interactions. That's humanity. Thank you.
I'll just add something into that. I do agree that I think it creates, like, people create like an echo chamber for themselves. If they want to see, if they like comments that are like more hateful, obviously I think the algorithm picks up on it and they're going to see more hateful content. And I guess one of the fears of social media for that is that I feel like it could be even, what's the word? Radicalizing, I guess, younger people, because a lot of young people are on social media. And I feel like I saw that even like with a relative of mine. I stumbled across a distant young cousin of mine on Twitter, and he follows me and I follow him, of course, because he's my cousin, right? And some of the things he posts, like, I was so surprised, because he's actually like a really nice guy. He's a really nice boy. But some of the things sometimes he says, I'm just like, what are you saying? You know, this is crazy. This doesn't even sound like you. And you don't even realize that they have these views. And so, yeah, I think it is quite easily to get radicalized on there. I mean, hell, even I kind of almost fell into that for a while, especially after the war, because I think I just got all of the comments kind of started like piling on to me. And I guess whatever I was seeing posted, like, I know I'm not trying to say like I'm a victim or anything. Of course I'm not. I wasn't in the war. I wasn't anything. But, you know, when you see comments and they're generalizing like your people, and you think, this is crazy. Like, this is not me. This is not like anyone that I know. And I think it's harmful. So yeah, but it's obviously meaningful to have that kind of one-on-one conversation, because I think you can have, you can probably say a lot more things in confidence then without being judged from outside elements. And anyone who's like just watching through your page or scrolling through this thread. So you don't get like an angry mob on you, and you can just say things in confidence.
Thank you, Aisel and Khoren. Arpine just wrote something in the chat. I don't know if Arpine, if you want to say it and share it, like you want to, yeah, there you go.
No, you can just read. I just wrote because I was thinking about the similarities we were talking about, and also this nationalist vocabulary that we have. I think it's quite similar. And I kind of blame here the nationalist education in post-Soviet countries that everybody has. I mean, it's not only Armenia and Azerbaijan, but because of our conflict, I think it's more strong. Yeah, and yeah, that's it, I think.
Thank you, Erpine. And Markar, you have raised your hand. You want to unmute yourself?
Yes, of course. Really thank you for the discussion. While I was listening to you speaking, I was trying to make an analogy, taking the symbolic aspect of the bridge with the physical bridge and the bridge in the social world. So I was thinking, what's a bridge in its essence? I see it as a time and resources invested now in order to reduce the costs of passing an obstacle later. So usually when you have a cliff or a river that you want to pass, you start planning a bridge. You make calculations, you check if the ground is suitable, blah, blah, blah. So you attempt to see if it's viable in general and in specific. In your cases, I can see that it's both something impulsive and something that's planned and adjusted. So what would be your advice to people who would plan to make a social bridge like the one you are trying to make? Use an impulse and just jump over, or try to plan it as much after the experience you had? That's it. Thank you.
Who would like to answer?
So I think the question was, what methods are you using when you build a bridge with the other side, right, Markar? Is that right?
Yes, it's close to the planning and to the using your impulses and not thinking, just trying to.
I think it's pretty straightforward for me. I think like there's no planning involved for myself. I just kind of go in and talk to them. Like, you know, first and foremost, everyone's a human being. You know, we're all human first, and then we're our ethnicities. So I think just go in with an open mind. I think it's probably the best course of action. Go in with an open mind. No kind of, I know we all hold maybe a little bit of prejudice about each other, but even if I do have any of them, I try to kind of suppress them, because then I kind of have like a little internal dialogue sometimes. Like I'm like, oh God, this is such a stupid comment or something. Of course they're going to say this, but kind of you just try to suppress it, and you think, you know, I'm being silly here. This is not how people are actually like. And you just have to kind of fight it off in yourself sometimes, and just go in with an open mind and just, you know, just speak to them like you would a normal person, of course. You know, I think it's, for me, it's straightforward like that. There's no planning.
So I like the analogy, and I think that, you know, there's multiple ways and places to cross a cliff. The first and the fastest way is you look for the closest gap and you jump. It has the advantage of the speed. You might fall, you might not make it, so that's a disadvantage. And another disadvantage, only you crossed. Nobody crossed from the other side, nobody crossed with you. But it's still important, because you have to get to the other side in order to figure out, okay, so now I'm here. If I'm going to build a bridge that other people can cross, I have to survey, I have to look around, I have to build a scaffold, I have to plan it. So I think, yeah, I think the analogy, there's merit to it. Another place to build a bridge is you look for one of the old bridges, right? One that we've forgotten about, one that needs repair, and you build it together. You rebuild it together. You make it stronger. So I think, now how do we apply this to the real world? I think in today, it's about information, it's about content. It's sort of a challenging landscape, because anybody can make content. That's a good thing, and it's also a bad thing. You don't know who's making it, where it's coming from, and the motivation. So I think that it comes back down to, we have the technologies now to make these personal connections. We just need to use the time and energy to make these exchanges and learn from each other. So, you know, maybe the future is not one physical bridge, but a lot of these networks and nodes here, and I don't know, content. I think people are more impressionable than you would expect. We all consider ourselves having strong views and different levels of stubbornness, but we are influenced, and we're influenced by what we see. And if we're always seeing negative things, then it affects us and gets us off balance. So people need to, I hope they can come together and specifically make things like, just imagine a talk show with an Azerbaijani and Armenian together, not even talking about anything political, just talking about something they both like or enjoy, some passion. And it's a small thing. It might not be viral, but it's one community, and we need a lot of those small communities. We don't want one big bridge that someone can just attack and break in the future. We want multiple places where we're crossing and we're exchanging.
Thank you, Khoren. Do we have any other question or comment? I don't know, Armine, if you want to read out loud. Otherwise, I have a small question as well while we finish the last question. It's to you, Khoren. Sorry, we have answered all the questions now, but because I think we all got very clearly from Lamiya's when she was telling us when she had this click that she said, I need to hear about the Armenians. What was it for you? Was there something that for you said like, wait, I need to do something, like a call to action that made you create this profile that,
For me, it was kind of entering the social media landscape and seeing all of from both sides, the really insulting historical interpretations, and really you can put a mirror and put the rhetoric on one side, and then you have the exact mirror on the opposite side. It's a fake people, they didn't exist, they appropriated culture. So I really love history, and I really love studying cultures and people. And even though it's not a profession of mine, it became frustrating to see this. And so that was part of the motivation. I'd say then the impetus was actually a book that was handed to me by actually a 2-year-old. Kept playing with my bookshelf, and they opened up the book, and I was kind of, at that day, I was very distraught with the war and the conflict, and I look at the page that opens up. So my mind is already on Karabakh, Azerbaijanis and Armenians, and the book opens up, and the title of this essay is Ethnic Intolerance is a Myth, and blah, 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 blah. And I started reading it, and I'm like, it's true. We're all humans, and it's not we don't have a natural tendency for violence or intolerance. It's something somehow we absorb, and we're affected by, historical violence, memories that can trigger it. Politics can trigger it. Leaders can trigger it. So I'd say the combination of two. It's like I'm like, this message, people have to know about this. I can't just sit here and just retweet propaganda or I don't know. There has to be something to learn from every situation, and I think the science supports that. Sometime in the future, people will live together peacefully, and we will sit around that table and eat and drink and laugh together. And I think we have to normalize that as the natural behavior, and then interpret what's happening now and why are we not there? Because if Armenians, Turks, Greeks, Azerbaijanis, Russians, Persians, if everybody's been killing each other for thousands of years, none of us would would be here. We wouldn't share language and food and things. So I don't know. It was a disbelief in the status quo. I don't believe it's the natural situation.
Thank you a lot. Sorry.
Yeah, I think what was happening was what we see as a toxicity and all the aggravation is unnatural, and what we're talking about is natural, and we just have to convince people. I think Lamiya want to say something. You want to add something?
Actually, I want to comment to making a bridge about the.
Okay, go ahead.
About how to make a bridge.
Okay, please go ahead.
For me, like to make a bridge, first they start with the empathy, is like understanding. Azerbaijanis and Armenians passed like the almost same fate. So it's like it's so it can be so easy actually to put to imagine yourself in like Armenian or as an Armenian or as an Azerbaijani, because the same thing happened to your nation as well. So for me, the making bridge is like the just like how can I say? I live in Kyrgyzstan now, so but my grandma village is in Azerbaijan, north region. So when my grandma house, old house, my uncle changed, I was depressed because everything about my childhood changed. I mean, that village which I spent, my childhood, like it affected me in Bishkek. So it's like this village wasn't destroyed, it's okay, it's in good condition, stays there. But just imagine that Azerbaijanis and Armenians, both who live in like the Azerbaijans in Armenia, Armenians in Azerbaijan. So their village, their existence, everything, childhood was like left their generation. So just imagine their anger, their anger. So and then just instead of in social media in real life, when they don't like you, just understand that there is a reason behind it. Maybe it's generalization, but it doesn't happen just because you are part of this nation. No, I mean, just because this nation exists, like Azerbaijanis, but Armenians, but just something happened. So it's like, for me, the making bridge is to imagine that the person, for example, I am Azerbaijani, just imagine that the person, like Armenian person from the any district, almost every district of the Azerbaijan, there were Armenians that were mostly in Western and in Baku around this place. Just imagine that someone and their maybe grandchildren or just children live and they cannot go their home, or they exist and everything was removed. Just make empathy, if this happened to you, how you will feel, and then start to dialogue with the opposite nation. Just what you can do with them. Maybe you can just not make a bridge. You can just ask this. Like you can for Azerbaijans, you can find Armenians from Azerbaijan. Armenians can find Azerbaijans from Armenia. Just show the place, maybe around the village. It's like this one of the, I think for me is one of the main, the strongest part of the bridge, and the going past, and just little bit, healing, understanding. So you live there, okay, that's sad that you were forced to leave your place, your homeland. Also, like, okay, this is about refugees and also about the people who lost their close people. So just imagine you lost your brother or you lost your uncle, that you can be angry to whole nation. So just when they are aggressive, or when how can I say, you see disliking, you can just contact opposite side. Just understand that there's someone, the kids, for example, kids without fathers, like who lost their fathers in the war. Of course, they will hate us, like they will dislike, and they will be teenager. When they will be teenager, or even now, if we cannot, we don't. How can I say? if we don't contact with them, if I don't contact with Armenian kids, in the future, of course, they will hate me because the environment, at the moment is like that. It's same to Azerbaijanis, That's why it's about us. Like we need to, how can I say, like a gum, we need to like a glue, we need to stick to this nation opposite, like Armenians, Azerbaijans, like in any topics, just maybe listen and put ourselves in that case. So that will be like the strongest bridge. The strongest bridge for me will be like in that time it will be.
Thank you, Lamiya, and thank you, everybody. What I shared in the chat is maybe if somebody wants to read it at the end. Now we'll go to the closing remarks, but it's a poem by a Bosnian Yugoslav poet, Mak Tisdar, that Armine sent to us, but she says she can't read it because she's driving. So if somebody wants to read it in the end, she said it will be a nice closing remark. Otherwise, I'd like to invite you, maybe first Rosa, if you want to say some closing remarks, some last words before we finish our meeting.
First of all, I want just to tell thank you because you called me to that meeting to meet each other, to talk with each other. Second of all, if you, it's for everyone. If you want to talk and if you want to tell something, if you read somewhere some information and you feel what you have what to tell, just comment. Be that one who will tell something. Don't be that one who is just watching. All world just watching on us. Nobody not doing anything. So don't be part of this world, part of this country who just watching on us and not doing anything. Because first of all, if you think in real, they don't have what to tell and what to do because it's our problem. We need to fix that. But we all, it's like we can put like some our how they say, we will be part of this project. We will be part of this. If we won't make peace, all of us we need to try to do something, because we can't tell they will, I will watch, they will do them. What can I do? I can't do anything. You can do everything if you want to change something. And I see many people in social media, they reading, they can like something or dislike something. If they dislike something, it means they don't like something. But why you not telling? What bothering you? Now, for example, what you don't like or what you like and why you think like this. Because if you will not have communication with another side, you will never understand this person. Because maybe some people, if they are so aggressive because they lost someone, because they were suffering in their life a lot, maybe because of this they have that emotions a lot. But you will never know if you will not talk. Just few words, and you will see how that's going, which level you will be, and how you will go. Just communicate. Don't need to be afraid. It's just internet, it's a social media. You just writing, you just talking. If you can go in war, so it's so simple to write, so simple to talk. It's the best way to understand each other. Because without communication, you will not. Don't need to. One time, just I read that in internet. It will be so weird. But one time I read it from some president. That's words he's saying. Don't need to leave everything on government. Be part of this. Do your job. So let's be part of this thing, and let's move on. Let's try to do something. Let's try to help each other. Let's try to understand each other. Why not? Little bit can fight, but after that, again, we'll continue with folk. Let's cry together. Let's laugh together, but just to be together. Just to do everything together, every step to be together, and world will change. Must.
Thank you very much, Rosa. Aisel, you want to share your closing remarks, please?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you for the opportunity to speak to you guys and to share my little experience. You know, what to say. I guess I think it's not a secret that maybe perhaps we are the few. And I think that's important because that means that we have to just keep going and kind of speak to as many people as we can. And, you know, I encourage people to just go against the grain, like don't follow the herd of what the masses are saying online, let's say. You know, form your own opinion. Don't be so easily led on or egged on to, or even succumb to what somebody is trying to tell you, like saying, no, this is right, this is how you should act. You know, form your own opinion, go your own way, and you know, carry on. Hopefully you can make a change, even if it's a small one. So yeah, have to keep going.
Thank you, Aisel. Lamiya, you want to share some last words?
Thank you very much.
Well, we can hear you really well. Can you?
Just thank you very much. I want to tell that thank you very much for inviting us.
Thank you for joining. And Khoren, your last words.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you to all as well. Great. It's been great to see you, and thank you to the Bright Gardens group. It's been valuable to follow along with the different discussions and the way that you format the events. So I hope we get more of these. I hope the people in attendance not only learn something, but are inspired to start something within their own community or their own social circles as well. You know, we're both the people that we love our history, we love our nations, and ultimately we love our families. We can describe ourselves as conservative and whatever generalizations that we want, but it's important to remember nobody is linear. We're all on this planet together to develop, to learn from one another. Who our nations and people are today are very different from 200 and 300 years ago. No civilization, no people, no individual on Earth is alone and uninfluenced. It's all about the exchanges, and it's all about the development into a better and better future. So thank you all.
Thank you, Khoren. Thank you to all of our guests for joining today. And Andrea, Rauf, if you want to share some last words.
Andrea, go ahead.
I was just going to say thank you to the guests. Hearing all of your stories and what you guys have started as like an initiative is really interesting, and makes me want to like do my own thing too. But I just like helping out. I love helping out like the cause to bring our communities together. So it's just, I love participating in things like this because it's important, and the younger generations just don't really get to interact a lot. So it's good to have these kind of settings. And kind of going off what Khoren said, like me being a history student, I've always loved history and I've always appreciated history. And I always viewed it as something very complex. It's not a black and white image. Nothing is in life, and history definitely isn't. And I think that's what makes it beautiful, but it also can become problematic when there is a conflict in things. And sometimes I don't like it when I see history used in a way that's either being like politicized or, you know, it's interpreted or biased, or it's their perspectives, right? So it should be a perspective of the truth and of like what is and what can how do I take this information and like use it in the future to create some kind of something productive, you know, something good. So yeah, I thank you for everything you guys do. And Rauf, if you want to say something.
I think Arnold want to add something. You want to go ahead, Arnold?
I'll go after you.
All right. first of all, for me and Andrea, this was the inaugural meeting. We thank you guys for having us as a team. We enjoyed it. I want to thank our guests for their wonderful insights. I've learned stuff, learned a lot, and I'm looking forward to talking to you guys again. And also, I want to thank the participants that have been with us since the beginning. And thank you for your contribution. Thank you for the comments and the questions. We didn't address all the questions and comments. I mean, we addressed all the questions, but not all the comments here. But feel free to reach to us. And in general, I think feel free to reach out to the people, to other side. Don't be afraid. Don't be intimidated. It's take the first step. Take the initiative. It helps. Then it doesn't have to be institutionalized. It doesn't have to be an organization. Just personal approach is very important. As Rosa said, you know, about the situation in Bosnia and Serbia, how people stood up, how any idea of war was so unpopular. I think the best way to get there is by reaching out to people. So please do talk to each other, and you know, I think that's the shortest way.
Thank you, Lamiya, Khoren, Rosa, Aisel. This was very enlightening, and I just want to, you know, repeat the message that it's just so much more effective if we have more of these communities, more of these groups, because, you know, there's just a limit to how much, you know, how big these platforms get, and then it sort of loses the community feel, the intimacy. So please use all these platforms as examples to create something on your own. Take the initiative, and it's just more effective to have more and more of these things. Excited to have Ralph on for the first meeting. Thank you, Andrea, for moderating, and yeah, just thank you to everyone who joined us today.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you to our new hosts and co-organizer. Thank you, Arnold, Aisel, Khoren, Rosa, Lamiya, and to the audience, of course. And see you hopefully soon for our 7th meeting. Thank you all for your support. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.